Happy morning, everyone. Well, it's morning when I'm making this, so happy day to you. In today's video, I thought we could talk about, do you pay to get your book published? And if you do, when do you do that? So I'm going to be kind of breaking this down into three little segments, talking about traditional publishing, self-publishing, and hybrid publishing, what it looks like for each of those processes, because those are the three main pathways to getting your book published that I am currently aware of at this point in time. Hi there, my name is Lauren. I'm a best-selling traditionally published author as well as book and publishing strategist, and I make it my mission to educate aspiring authors on the publishing landscape in the business of books and kind of what all that means for them, what to know when you want to decide to become an author. That was clunky, but you know what I mean. So 3 ways to get published. You got traditional, self-publishing, and hybrid. In traditional, you never pay. You never, ever pay in traditional publishing. You might pay beforehand, like if you're wanting to get a manuscript critique or pay for a beta reader or get some editing. That's all like preparatory type work, and that's on you. Once you have had your book acquired by a publisher and you are starting the publishing process, you never pay. That is the appeal of going the traditional route. The reason why this is because when you pitch your book to an agent or an agent is necessary for mid-size, larger publishers, not necessarily small presses. Agents pitch to editors and publishers in their network in hopes of getting you both a book deal because they represent you. If you don't make money, they don't make money. Or if there are presses that take unsolicited manuscripts, meaning you don't need an agent, you're most likely going to be pitching to an acquisitions editor. They're the people who are standing at the front door of the publishing house saying, yes, write this way, brand new author, or no thanks, try again later. They're the ones who say yes or no to your manuscript. That's them. But the way this would work is a publisher would say, ooh, yes, this is the next best thing since sliced bread. We would love to publish your book right this way. And then they like unhook the little VIP velvet rope and then show you the way through the doors. When they agree to take on your manuscript, you would typically, very generally in traditional publishing, you would sign your rights to that book over to the publisher. And because it is now theirs, they're going to be paying to get it published. You would get a very, very small percentage of that because you signed over your rights to that manuscript to give to that publisher. So at most, you would make about 10% of the royalties, and your publisher, because they're paying for everything, would reap about 90% of the royalties. Again, I'm being generous when I say that you're going to make 10%. That's industry standard. Usually it's going to be about 10% or less. So with traditional publishing, the publisher's taking it on. You never have to pay for it. If they say you have to pay for something, that's false, but that's generally how that works in traditional. So again, you never ever pay for it. So self-publishing, or this is also known as independent publishing or indie publishing, you're going to pay for everything because you are self-publishing it. So therefore you are responsible for bringing this book to life, for making sure that it is at your standard, that it meets industry standards. I am not as familiar with the self-publishing process. I haven't really worked with many authors who have self-published. I have never self-published, but I know like some of the basics to it. So what that publication process looks like is gonna vary. Some people have their own rhythm and methods. Some people maybe don't have as much guidance with that. Sometimes people will hire out assisted self-publishing type agencies to help them along with the self-publishing process, which is a little bit of what hybrid is. I'm going to get into that in a minute. But with self-publishing, it might just kind of vary with how people do it. But generally, you would want to follow the same guideline as traditional, in that you would focus on editing, design, meaning book cover, layout, all that stuff, production, marketing, distribution, and then a little bit more marketing after that, because there's always going to be book marketing happening before and after publication, always. It would make sense if you go the self-publishing route to pay for editing services. I would highly recommend you do this, especially if you're self-publishing, because the last thing you want to do is have a killer book idea and then have it be translated not that well because there's all these like grammatical errors, or there's awkward sentences, or maybe the way that things line up in the story and the narrative arc and all these little different components of the story just don't add up all that well. So I would highly, highly recommend that you get your book edited. You want to make a really good first impression, especially if you're a brand new author, if you're aspiring, this is your first book. You really want to do it right and make it count. So please have someone take a look at your book. There's different types of editors. I have a graphic that I'll pop up here that talks about some of the different types of editors that are out there. There's a manuscript critique, there's developmental editing, there's copy and line editing. Prices for this are going to vary. because most editors charge by word count. So they might charge, for example, 3 cents per word or something. If you have a 50,000 word book versus a 90,000 word book, that's going to be a pretty big price difference. So do your research, ask questions, feel free to meet with a couple editors, have some consultations if they offer those for free, and get to know more about what your options are. But definitely be sure to take care of editing. You would pay for a book cover. If you wanted to do that on Canva, you could. If you wanted to hire someone to do that, you could. There's all kinds of freelance designers out there. If you're self-publishing, you would pay for your ISBN registration, which is the barcode that's on the back of every single book, any permissions, and then if you wanted to send out any ARCs, ARCs, that stands for Advanced Reader Copies, it would cost a few dollars to send those out to different peoples to get some like preparatory reviews in anticipation of your book's release. So in self-publishing or indie publishing, yes, you're going to pay for pretty much everything. And then lastly, we have hybrid publishing. And this is it's described a couple different ways, but it's meant to be a blend between traditional publishing and self-publishing, in that you have the structure and guidance of traditional, but you still have that creative freedom and flexibility with self-publishing. But in short, a lot of people describe it as assisted self-publishing. So if you want to think about it one of those two ways, you totally can. People have a lot of question marks around hybrid publishing is because they're often confused with vanity presses. Sometimes they can come across as being synonymous. They're similar, but they are still separate. Vanity presses, which is what I was looking at in the publishing scams video that I think was my last video. This is people who charge a lot of money for very basic services. They eliminate a lot of rights and permissions that you should have. They will do bare bones services that are just standard for book publishing and make you think that you're getting some kind of special process. If you're curious about that, feel free to check out that video. They've taken advantage of a lot of people before. Hybrid presses tend to be a little bit more ethical. They acknowledge that, yes, these are your rights, these are your permissions, which 100% of that should be yours. And if you want to learn more about what a hybrid press should look like, you can go to ibpa.org, I think. I'll put the link somewhere. And that's the Independent Book Publishers Association. And they have a list of criteria, like ethics for these hybrid presses, if you want to learn more about what you should look for in a quality press. And I have some examples that I'm going to give you later too. But it's going to depend for hybrid presses because they are separate, different entities. There's different types of agencies. They're going to have their own way of doing things. So this could either look like an upfront cost, meaning you pay, let's say, $5,000 of your $8,000 or $10,000 investment as like a down payment, and then maybe you might have payments later. Maybe they want you to pay 100% of it up front, and then that's that, and then you follow the publishing process from there. It very well could be staggered throughout. You might have a payment plan or monthly or quarterly installments or something like that. That's why I say it's going to vary press by press, because they're going to have their own way of doing things, and I wouldn't feel right giving you a blanket statement about what hybrid presses are going to cost. So especially with these, you'll definitely want to do your research. Take a look at that list of criteria from the IBPA and educate yourself a little bit more on that. I also have a blog from Jane Friedman who talks a lot about everything that you've always wanted to know about hybrid presses. She's got a few blogs on there too. If you decide that you want to get published through a hybrid press, there is a vetting process. Not everyone is going to accept your manuscript. So you're going to pitch it. They have their own little portal or way that they want you to submit these things. Just read everything carefully. Make sure you're doing everything 100% correct. You would pitch that. They would say, oh, yes, this looks like a pretty good book. It's in pretty good shape. Yeah, of course, we would love to, represent your book or take your book on or publish it. From there, they might very well offer you a choice of packages. This could be like one big comprehensive package. It might be a basic one. It might be a premium one. There could very well be a VIP one. It's just going to vary. So a basic package might include design, production, and distribution, and a more enhanced package might include developmental editing, some additional marketing material, media outreach, etc. Again, it's just going to vary place by place. And then from there, once you choose kind of what you want or like what's in your budget, what you're looking for, That's kind of when you would get everything down in writing, sign a contract. The only time there isn't going to be a contract is in self-publishing, but there very well is in traditional and hybrid. So you'd sign that contract where it would outline payments, what the financial agreement is, what they're responsible for, what you're responsible, etc. And then from there, they would start that editorial work and anything else that was promised or included in the package of your choosing. If at any time you get a book contract, which congratulations, by the way, I hope that happens for you, you can head over to the Authors Guild, and if you get a membership with them, they have a legal team that can review your contract for you and let you know like if it's a good deal or not, because it is possible to get a bad book deal or one that maybe isn't all that great. So if you maybe don't trust yourself, if you don't have a lawyer in the family or something like that, or a niece in law school, feel free to check out the Authors Guild, where they do have lawyers and a legal team that can take a look at any contracts that you get. I will tell you, it is very, very standard for any type of press, whether it's traditional, whether it's assisted, whatever. It's very regular and standard for them to do editorial, design work, meaning like formatting and book design, production, and distribution. Marketing, you know, some might have more marketing support than others, but generally that is what is basic for any book to be made, whether you're doing it yourself, whether you're paying for someone else to do it. What is special about you? That's the question that you need to ask in your research, and that's the question that equally you need to ask yourself when you were trying to get your book published. What is it that's going to set your book apart? Because this is a partnership. It's a business partnership. I hope this video was helpful. I tried to be as detailed as I could, but I just thought it was worth talking about when it makes sense to pay to publish, because I feel like so many people think they're going to get a really great deal or get, have all these kind of promises with flying colors, and then it ends up falling flat or falling short, or they're disappointed or they're ripped off or something. So I'm just doing my part to educate y'all on when it makes sense to pay for publishing and when it doesn't. So if you want to go down the rabbit hole, check out that publishing scams video that I have, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, educate yourself, ask questions, and have a good one. Bye.